everybody, welcome back to my channel. Fatty is joining us today, and I'm going to delve a little bit more into my personal life. I'm going to get a little bit more raw and real and talk about some of the spiritual lessons that I feel like I've learned from a recent dating experience. So I'm kind of doing this for myself. I always like to make sense of things, and I thought, hey, I'll throw it out there. I talk about dating, and maybe this will help somebody else. So, oh, my little blueberry. I have the philosophy of everybody you encounter is for a reason. And that could even be the person at the convenience store, in my case, I'm in customer service. So every customer I meet, certain people ping a little bit more with a charge, and that tends to happen in dating or friendships. And I think all those meetings are there to tell you something very important. And it's painful for sure, and it's lonely for sure. But that quiet when a dating situation or relationship ends, I also love it, because this is when I get to be Sherlock Holmes and I get to look back retrospectively on what has happened and kind of put clues together. And this is when I get the really rich lessons. Those clues lead to a gorgeous spiritual mystery unfolding. So that's the part I really like, is the contemplative part where I get to put on my analytical cap, and I love it. This particular dating situation, as I'm sorting through the puzzles, the rubble, it is showing me a better version of myself, or the next version of myself. And it's also helping me to reach my authentic self, which I think is a big part why we're here in this human experience. And I'm just gonna summarize as best as I can the things that I was encountering. The person I dated was somebody who wasn't super emotionally available, kind of wanted or didn't want to deal with my feelings, or kind of wanted to keep me at arm's length. Not sure. This isn't stuff that was explicitly said. This was said through actions, and this is sort of what I energetically picked up. So, I mean, I'm going to err to that I'm seeing things through my perspective, and I have a filter on. So in a way, we never really know. People's minds are very complicated, and interactions with people can be quite complicated. But I found it interesting because it's also part of a pattern I've had where I meet men who immediately like me and pledge feelings, and as soon as they kind of see my more emotional side, my more vulnerable side, the relationship starts to tumble quickly. It's a real high and a low. So I just felt, I've looked at this in the past, but it keeps coming up. So this is an opportunity for me to really look at it and try to clear up some of the energy that maybe I'm carrying around. I'm not going to go into all the details, but that was basically it. I'm this person that is fun and funny and loves to joke around and have fun, but I'm also quite sensitive in some ways, and quite an analytical deep thinker. I have my philosophy degree, got my little books back there. So I love just, as Paul F. Tompkins said about his philosophy class, he said he was sick of thinking about wondering about stuff. And I love to think about wondering about stuff. So that side, I've had relationships where people like the fun side and they don't love the emotional side. Or the analytical side. I've had relationships where they love the analytical side, but the fun side they find kind of offensive. So it's an interesting duality. And I've gotten a lot of criticism throughout my life. People saying I'm too sensitive. People saying I'm too intense. When I look around, I see that we all have sensitivities. We all have little trigger points. I've seen people flip out at Starbucks or Dairy Queen. I remember I was in Pickering and this chick was like freaking out about some Dairy Queen sundae. So when I see things like that, I wonder why my feelings are are considered so intense. I'm pretty chill about a lot of stuff. But anyways, all that criticism that I've received over my lifetime, I really have internalized. And relationships are these great mirrors to sort of show you what you need to learn. If you want to know more about that, Braden has a phenomenal video, which I'll link below, about the Essene mirrors, and he breaks down different types of relationships and what it is reflecting in you. Absolutely great. Link it below. Where I get a little heady, so bear with me because I'm going to be looking at my notes a little bit more. We try to hide from ourselves. This is something I've read over and over again in New Age books, in spiritual books, in psychological books, is that we do try to hide from ourselves. But in our interactions with other human beings that are acting like mirrors for us, they force us to face ourselves and look at ourselves. And it'll happen on repeat until we've really faced something in ourself that needs to be dissolved. It could be wrong thinking, it could be a character trait that needs some work. Whatever it is, people are our mirrors. If you have somebody triggering you, that's like an extra little nudge from the universe to really be paying attention to what is going on. Going back to the two sides of me, I mean, there's many sides of me. There's many sides of everybody. But I have always felt, for whatever reasons, the criticism, the relationships that go south, just a lifetime of feedback and my own paranoia, whatever, everything. All my experiences, thoughts rolled into one have made me almost ashamed of my more anxious, depressed, intense, analytical side. It's not something that tends to be accepted by a lot of people. It takes, there are people in my life who have never even noticed it or had a problem. So it's not this like giant pathological thing. Oh my God, I'm defending myself. It's a little bit triggering. So, and this is something for years too. I read all the time, and reading spiritual books and dating books and stuff like that, I've looked for this sort of specific thing because I have so many insecurities around my emotional internal life. Feeling like, is that a burden for somebody? Is showing vulnerability and emotions going to chase them away? Because I've just had it happen as a pattern for so long. So it is something that's a little bit stuck in my craw. And as I read spiritual books, especially kind of positive thinking type books, they don't really say it's okay to be feeling these negative feelings too. It's kind of like, oh, you're feeling something negative, change it to a positive. And I've internalized that as criticism for, like, it's a subtle way of saying change who you are. That if you're thinking something negative, you're going to attract something more negative. I've blathered on about this in another video, but it keeps coming up in my thoughts. And it wasn't really until I started following the work of Teal Swan that I got some relief, because she is saying that instead of trying to chase away your negative feelings, it is okay to have them. And in fact, if you sit with them, and accept them, that's a better way of dissolving them rather than this insincere way of just like having a negative thought and trying to change it to a positive, because that's unrealistic in a lot of cases. I'm not saying be a downer. I'm just saying there's a lot of that kind of change yourself, change your thoughts in spiritual thinking. But anyways, yeah, I did a whole video, so I'm not going to go through that again. So Teal Swan talks about how to set yourself free and sit with your feelings. This is a video that I'm going to link below. It is called How to Set Yourself Free. And she talks about how many people turn outwards. If they're feeling feelings, negative feelings internally, they tend to turn outwards. Drinking, drugs, eating, partying, name it. Like, I do this too. There's a lot of times that instead of kind of sitting and dealing with my feelings, I turn to something external, some external distraction. I'm not criticizing individually these things. There's nothing wrong with, having a drink or partying or whatever, but I'm just saying, as a distraction to what you're feeling, it doesn't work. And I've come to the point where I've realized that this doesn't work, and I have to sit with my feelings. Sit with yourself completely. She's talking about sinking into your pain rather than following these wants, these distractions, because this wanting is escaping your feelings. When you're escaping your feelings, you're essentially trying to escape yourself. And that is a terrible message to tell to yourself. You're basically, and I realize I've been doing this my entire life, I've basically been saying my feelings are not okay, I'm not okay, and I'm not accepting myself. It's a form of abandoning yourself, is what she talks about. You're not wanting the self. You're not accepting the self. So she does say to walk straight into your pain, accept it, deal with it, undo the damage, and become what you really are. And that was a eureka moment for me, for sure. I haven't been accepting myself. That's huge. I've been trying to change myself or hide myself or downplay myself. And that is a pretty damaging thing to do to your psyche. So I have spent the last little while just going directly into my most uncomfortable feelings and allowing myself to feel the experience. And Teal talks about how this is real living too. So all those dark, anxious, negative feelings, you're feeling life, you're feeling yourself. And I have found that they dissolve faster. And it has been this amazing journey to basically saying, I am okay the way I am. And I look, again, at past relationships and how could I have ever thought that somebody else would accept me if I am not accepting myself? So I've been trying to change these feelings. I've been trying to distract myself from myself. So why would I ever think that somebody would be accepting of who I am and my feelings and the whole package? I have been living a little bit of a duality. So I felt this was a beautiful lesson. It was a beautiful mirror to meet somebody who is showing me that I don't accept myself. And it's been much more peaceful realizing that I have to accept myself. And it's starting to allow me to accept others better. I'm basically a mini wheat with a sugar side and a whole wheat side. And I think we should all accept ourselves as little mini wheats we are. Wow, that is the worst analogy. I am so sorry. That's really horrible. But anyways, let me just summarize it all up. Feel your feelings. I know I'm feeling more released. And I'm realizing that the real freedom, I've been talking about craving freedom for so long, and I think the real freedom I've been craving is self-acceptance. Accepting myself as whole. It's more grounding. It's much more grounding. And I look at the past, and I've been afraid to show my truth to people, and I've done it in unclear, passive ways, aggressive ways, passive-aggressive ways. I think I've gotten better over the years, but I definitely want to go forward showing my truth in a more clear, respectful, loving way. So that's on me. That's something that I can learn. So yeah, it's been a great journey. Fatties, the cats accept me for who I am fully. And then I just happened to watch the Seinfeld where George just goes up to the, he's like, I'm going to do the opposite of all my instincts. And he goes up to the woman and he's like, hi, I'm bald. I'm middle-aged, whatever, bald, unemployed, live with my parents. And she accepted that. So I'm starting to see these little cute messages peppered into my daily life about self-acceptance. So yeah, relationships bring beautiful lessons. And Fatty and I say goodbye and peace and love.